What is the purpose of religion? Should you be religious? Should you be atheist? What's the point? There are some people who say, I don't believe in anything that has a higher power, science all the way. And there are some extremely religious people. Who lives the better life? What's the right way? And I'm gonna break this down for you very easily because I've thought of this exact topic for a very long time and it finally makes a lot of sense. I'm just gonna put this out there and set the tone for the video and just hear me out till the end so that it can make sense. A religion is like a diet, but for your brain. Just like you have a diet for your body and for the food you take, a religion would be for your mind, for your brain. And before you guys go all crazy and start saying, no, but it's spiritual, it's more than that. Great, but that's all related to your brain. That's you and your being, and that's not to do with the food that goes into your stomach. But I'm gonna relate the two, and this is how it's gonna make sense for you guys. So what's the purpose of a diet? You have a diet, you eat. Which diet is the best? Which religion is the best? The thing is, regardless of the diet you choose, regardless of the religion that you're in, if you're religious, it's just navigation of how you should live your life. Why is it that there are some diets that have a better effect on us and worse, but at the end of the day, we know one thing. A diet is better than no diet for the average person. What's the average person? Let's take the average man. The average man is slightly overweight. These days, that's the average, unfortunately, especially in North America, in first world countries like this. So if you consider the fact that if there's a man and he doesn't have a diet, he just eats whatever, basically the equivalent of an atheist in terms of religion, he just consumes whatever, he doesn't actually care what he eats, and he just takes everything in from the world and consumes it like that, it's gonna have somewhat of a negative effect overall. Because it's just chaos. There's no order there. Because with all the things available around you, maybe you got hungry so you ordered some fast food, and you eat random things on a daily basis, so they probably contain high sugar or very high in salt, for example, and you don't even drink enough water because you don't actually pay attention to how much water you drink. Instead, you drink soda. Sodas or pop or whatever you want to call it, basically sweet sugary drinks. This person would be at the lowest level because they're just taking in whatever they can get. So they don't determine their health, but their environment around them determines how healthy they're going to be and their genetics. So you put two average people together, but they have different genetics. The person who has a faster metabolism is naturally going to be skinnier than the person who has a slower metabolism, but that's also because their diets are the same. So this is the equivalent of an atheist. How does it match up to this? Well, take a look. Someone who's an atheist, they don't have any set beliefs they follow. They just kind of go with everything. Whatever society gives them, whatever they see on social media, whatever the rappers sing about, that's what's going to influence them. If the rappers talk about doing drugs, they're going to probably eventually go and do drugs. Okay, maybe you're not into that. So instead, you're going to overindulge in something else. And whatever world you're in, whatever's your environment, and for most of us, that is social media, that is the society, and that's what's going to shape you. Lately, society has become over-sexualized, so naturally, you're going to become more sexualized. You're going to become more lustful. You're going to start to look at women like they're a piece of meat that you just want to bang and nothing behind them. And then you become that creepy guy that women look at and you're just staring and you scare them because they know what you're thinking. And that's all you want. Because society tells you that's what you should want. Those rappers, singers, movies, whatever it is that you watch. And before you know it, you become a complete degenerate. And that's what most atheists are. They're complete degenerates. Because they have no morals, no ethics, If they need to fuck you over, they'll fuck you over, they'll scam you, they'll steal from you. This is the bottom of the barrel. This is level 1. For both diet, meaning you have no diet, and for atheism, meaning you have no beliefs, no moral compass. Level 2. This is where you actually have a diet, which means you've selected one of the many diets available. Maybe you've selected carnivore, maybe it's veganism, whatever extremes you want. But the point is you're now watching what you eat and you're eating on purpose. And of course, many can argue, well, carnivore is the better one, keto is better, vegan sucks. And each one of those has their own truths. But the point is, we can all agree that a diet is better than no diet. That's why even diets that deprive you of nutrients, like being vegan, you lose out on so many necessary minerals, vitamins, and nutrients in general, like protein. It's very hard to eat a high protein diet if you're vegan. But why do people claim that it has results? Well, because they were a fat ass before, extremely obese, overweight, and suddenly they started watching what they eat. They went from eating burgers every day to eating some leaves at this point. And that's what the individual needed. He needed to stop eating fucking burgers. So, regardless on which diet you are on, it's probably gonna be better for you. At least for a certain amount of time. Of course, if you go vegan extreme and you end up losing out on nutrients, well, there are a lot of people that die young and look extremely aged because they don't have enough collagen in their body. That's just extremism. But the bottom line is, a diet is better than no diet. And this goes for religion as well. Generally speaking, having a religion to follow is better than being an atheist, than having no religion. Because now, whether it's the best or not, there is some kind of moral compass. You watch what you put into your brain. Before doing something, you think, is this ethically sound? Does this make sense, or am I fucking somebody over? You become a better human being. Probably gonna do less degenerate things, or even if you're not that religious, but just a little bit, at least you're gonna feel guilty for doing some things that you know are bad for you. So typically, people who are religious, they're usually better people. And what I mean better is the fact that they are not complete degenerates, because there's something they have to follow. There is a belief system. There is a book that tells them what's wrong and right. That's a lot better than having no book. So that was level 2. Now level 3, it's almost like it comes back full circle. Because let's say you've gone through level 1 and 2 and you've started off having no diet, and then you've tried all these different diets, and now you're just kind of eating whatever you think you need. You're not extreme on a diet where you're saying I'm only eating meat and I'm extreme carnivore, or I take in no meat. You understand your nature and you think, okay, well, I know I need these vitamins and I can get it from this type of food. So I'm gonna eat that type of food. Maybe, based on your genetics, you're somebody who puts on weight a lot and very fast. So you decide to reduce your carb intake. It doesn't mean you go 0 carbs. It just means you're probably gonna avoid very sweet things. And instead you're gonna settle for carbs like maybe rice, barley, the slow digesting ones. Maybe you're trying to build muscle, so naturally you're gonna eat higher protein. So you alter your diet and what you eat based on what you need in the moment, based on where you wanna go and what your goals are. Whether it's losing weight, maybe you just wanna look less puffy. Some people get very puffy and bloated, and usually it's caused by sugar and salt. So you reduce those and your face starts looking sharper. You haven't really lost fat because it wasn't fat that was the problem. It was the fact that you're bloated from all these sugars and salts because it retains all the water. If you're someone with a fast metabolism, maybe you don't have to worry about that as much, but you maybe have to take in a larger amount of food. so that you can maintain a healthy weight. But this is the level 3 where you're not necessarily following a diet, but you're also not dietless. You switch and change things based on where you're going and what you need. But you can only get there with a lot of experience already having done, for example, level 1 and 2. Now, how does this relate to religion? Well, you're basically back to being an atheist. Maybe you don't necessarily believe in a God out there. You don't believe that there's something larger than you, but you're not a degenerate still. You're actually a good person, and people may think you're even religious, and no, you may not practice it, you may not follow anything, but you're a really good person. Why is that? That's because you've developed your own moral compass over time. You understood what's wrong and right, what's ethics, you've set standard and you've created yourself, and this is how you live by a set moral code and standards, which often overlap with the moral standards and ethics in religion. So instead of taking a prescribed set, you chose different sets based on your experience in life. You picked them out, and now you're still living with the moral compass. You know what's wrong and right. You know what's bad for you. You know what's good to do. And you just happen to not specifically believe in a larger being. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're a degenerate. So hopefully that makes sense. And that's just one way to look at it. And based on this, you can identify where you stand, which level you're on, and where do you want to go. But one thing's certain, you don't want to be stuck at level 1, where you don't pay attention what goes in your mind or in your stomach, in your body. Of course, you can argue there are a lot more other benefits or purposes of being on a diet or religion as well, because your spirit is connected to it as well, you feel a certain way, or the fact that religion is actually a means to unite people, a large group of people that can be united by a single religion. That's actually how human species survive, in unification. But I'm not talking about those things right now. I'm talking exactly what relates to you specifically. So if you currently are an atheist and you think, you know what, these people who are religious, they just blindly follow a faith. Yeah, but at least they follow something. And whether you believe in it or not, those things still make them better people, and they're healthier for themselves. They're just a healthier individual. So maybe you just need to develop your own set standards and moral code and ethics to live by, and you'll actually stop being a complete degenerate. Maybe you don't agree that, well, the Bible has all these limitations. You're not supposed to get drunk, you're not supposed to do all these things, but you want to, and you don't see anything wrong with that. Fine, then maybe that's not for you. It doesn't mean you still can't have other qualities. So that's it, guys. Hopefully this makes a lot more sense and showed you a different perspective than what you're used to, and maybe that's going to give you a trajectory in what should you follow in terms of religion or even diet, as I was using that for an example. Other than that, if you guys like my videos, feel free to follow me, and I'll catch you in the next one.